Hello and welcome back, and this will be my first, outside the introductory talk, this will be my first official talk. Instead of just writing it out in my blog, this will be the first time that I have tried to do this orally and share this information in this fashion. We're going to see how it goes. And today we have an object lesson for you. And I'm going to show you something. I've got a battery. You might be wondering why I showed you the picture of why I showed you this battery here. Well, there's a reason for it. Today in Portland, I think it was today, I overheard on the news, they cut down that large sequoia that a lot of people were trying to save. When I first heard about this going on, it kind of angered and bothered me. I'm not like, you couldn't call me officially a tree hugger, you know. I'm not going to go out and chain myself to a tree to save it. But I do view all life as being precious. I wish that man would live better with his environment, and I'm referring to mankind collectively, men and women and otherwise, however you classify or don't classify yourself. I wish man as a species, which is what I'm referring to, generally referred to as also as mankind, but we'll say man and womankind to make everybody happy. Would get along better, would live more as one with the environment. I pretty much don't care what those authority figures in Portland were saying. If they really had wanted to save that tree, they could have made their walkway go around either side of it and kept adjusting the walkway over the years. It might be more expensive, but that's one thing they could have done if the walkway had to go through there. That's one thing right off the top of my head that I know they could have done. And, you know, and do we really need a walkway right in that position? Why can't it be in some other place? Why does it have to be there exactly? But that's not my business. I'm not in politics. I don't have the authority and the money. I'm not one of the 1%, as they say. And then I realized something else when I heard the news that it was cut down today, that I got a little bit angry, and then I realized something. What does anger do? When I hear the news in this and other articles, what does that do to me? Most of the news you hear is pretty negative. What does that do? It narrows my focus. So that keeps me from being open and being able to look around and see things around me, and it keeps me from accessing my true power. I do not have power as in money or politics. I don't have the power of the arm driving the fist. I don't have power in that regard. But I do have power as in the force and the energy that creates a body, that causes the universe to move around and do what it does and exist and brought everything into being, depending on whatever your viewpoint is for that. I just refer to this as source, and it's not something I worship. It's not something I have an altar to. It's not something that I would preach on. There's no Bible or religion associated with it. And source can be anything. As I said in the last video, all possibilities exist, and I can access that source simply by my belief and my intentions. But if I'm narrow focused in anger, then I'm blocking myself from that greater power. And then I can't affect any change that I might want to affect. I have the power and ability to create a reality where a tree like that would not be cut down. And I'm not the only one. Everyone out there that I'm talking to in this video, and everybody out there on this planet that's a human, and everybody on this planet that's any other kind of sentient life form, if you have sentient ability and thought, whatever form you might be, you have the same power. You can all access this. It is powered by your beliefs and your intentions. So I could envision a reality where that tree exists and lives and has the walkway built around it, for example. It's too late now. And that's another thing. You don't want to be putting energy into something that's already happened. Then you're just expending energy into nothing. There's no return. And it's the same problem with worry, because you don't want to expend your energy like that into something that has no return. So I can, if I had had the time, I could have gotten together if I had the connections and time, and I've been a little isolated out here, so I haven't been able to do this. But if I had that, I could have gathered maybe 1,000 or 100 people together, and we could have all pictured this reality of the tree alive. And if we all believed in that and focused on that and set our vibrational rate to that, then we could have created that reality of that happening. And this same principle can be applied to anything. And it's taught in Hermetics, it's taught in the principle of Hermetics, it's taught in anything you read by Wayne Dyer and Power of Intention. It's a very powerful tool, but it's kind of foreign and hard for us to use because we're not accustomed to that. In society, we're kind of, in our religions, Christianity here in America being one of the predominant ones, we're kind of beat into this idea that we are powerless. We need to be saved. We are sinners. We are lost. And our power, when we believe in that, is taken away. And we can't access the source and create the reality for ourselves that we wish to create. So this battery, I've got to make this quick because I only got like a half-hour video on here. This battery has, you can see there, a positive and a negative. Okay, well, positive isn't necessarily good or bad, and negative isn't necessarily good or bad. What makes positive or negative, not in a battery per se, but in any other area of our life, bad or good to us, is our perception. But positive and negative are one thing. They're not two separate things. They might be different vibrational rates. You can think of negative as a lower vibrational rate and positive as a higher vibrational rate. But they're the same thing. They're utilizing the same energy of the source. So when we are angry, when we are focused in anger on something we don't want, and we're focused in any way on something we don't want, we are vibrating at the lower end. And we are attracting into our lives things of that nature. If we focus on not wanting violence, and we do everything we can to shield ourselves from violence and protect our families, and we live in fear all our life, more than likely violence will find us, because that's what we're attracting into our life. And if we go out and we want violence, we want to go out, we go out on the street and pack a knife or a gun, and we want to go out and we want to fight somebody, you're going to find somebody to fight, and you're going to attract that to yourself. But if you vibrate up here at a higher level, where you want to be peace to people, and you don't want to fight, and you're not focusing on not wanting to fight, you're just simply choosing to vibrate at a higher level, that if fighting happens, you know, okay, you'll defend yourself, but as far as you're concerned, you're not going to be in a fight, you're not going to fight, you're not going to hurt anybody. You've made a choice to vibrate at a higher level and match those kind of experiences yourself. And you see this we hear people traveling around the world. I told my parents I was going to go out on a bike ride and, you know, travel up to see my friend or something. I didn't decide totally what I wanted to do, but, you know, they were all worried about me that, you know, I'd get mugged and all my stuff would get taken away. And I was told, actually, by another lady at family knows, that I went down to, you know, the Texas area, went down that way, down to Mexico. I was going to go down to California at one time also. If I get down near the border, that the Mexicans are going to beat me up, and, you know, and she's a Mexican. That was her home. So that's her perception of that area. But then you hear from, there's a series a long way around, and you hear from these people who go all around the world and all these places like Russia where you'd think everything would be just horrible people, and they come out of their experience, most everybody they meet is awesome and good. It's perception is what creates what you experience. That is the key, and I wanted to present. I had some more thoughts on this, but thoughts are getting kind of foggy right now. If I were to separate the positive or the negative out of this battery wouldn't work anymore. Something else to keep in mind. When we, yes, that's what I wanted to say. Okay, I remember now. When we try to separate, when we say there's good, and then there's bad, there's evil, there's holy, there's this, and then there's that, we're causing separation. We're separating ourselves from each other. We're separating ourselves from our planet. We're separating ourselves from Source. When we segregate ourselves into groups of Christians versus Muslims, Jew versus whatever else, We separate ourselves into groups of, let's say we want to be evil, so we're Satanists. When we do that, we give power to the other group, and we're causing separation amongst ourselves, and we're cutting ourselves off from source power, and then we are not able to access that great power that is our birthright. Basically, we are all connected to the source, and there is no good, there is no bad, there is no evil. It only lives in our perceptions of there being good, bad, evil, this, that, and other. If you consider yourself and believe yourself to be separate from everyone else, or from some other group or some other person, if that's what you believe, then you have created a distance between yourself. You've cut yourself off from this other person, and you have also cut yourself off from source, because you are connected to that person whether you decide you want to be, believe you want to be or not. You're connected to that person because the same energy that is inside you that drives your machine, your body around, is the same energy that's inside them that drives their machine and their body around. And I don't know how it all works in the end. I don't know if there's reincarnation. I don't know if we return to the source energy. I don't know if we remain separate or anything. I know that there was this whole thing about being unique at one time, and we've got this whole generation thing, Generation X, and Generation whatever. But all it is doing is causing separation, and as long as we're separate, we're not going to be able to integrate and to be whole and to be at peace, because only when we are one are we powerful. Only when we learn that we are connected to our planet and to each other, we realize this, and we live in such a way that we are loving ourselves and accepting ourselves and loving and accepting others, no matter what their belief system is. Only when we finally move away from belief systems and remove ourselves from all these things we've been identifying ourselves with all our lives, only when we do that can we start to become connected to others and the planet. And only when all of us are connected to each other and the planet and living as one altogether, even though we're individually unique in our bodies and stuff and our personalities. I'm not saying that you just be exactly the same as the other person. What I'm saying is we're living as one with each other and the planet. Right now, we're trying to run things as a battery that's been separated into positive and negative. There's us versus them. Only when we integrate and become one do we have power. See you next time.